Welcome to Torah Smash, the podcast for nerdy Jews, where our lives of Jewish learning collide with our love of nerd culture. In each episode, we discuss what we lovingly call a Torah Smash, which we have defined as a beautiful collision of one thing from the world of Judaism with another from nerd culture. I am RDY, and joining me today are...
Barack Malkin.
Ethan Lane Miller.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hi. It's been a minute. It's good to see you both.
It's been approximately 2 weeks.
It's been approximately 2 weeks.
According
Is
to
it
our
approximately or exactly?
It's been 2 weeks since they have heard from us.
Yes.
But
How crisp is the upload timing, Barack? Like, is it exactly 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Nice. So it's been exactly 2 weeks.
Yeah.
wow.
I thought that this was live. Like, people are hearing this live as we're talking.
Yeah, so listeners, just shout your name and we'll give you a shout out.
Hey,
All
Steve.
right.
Good to hear from you.
Nice.
When I was coming out of high school, going into college, and was active in the camping world and knew I needed some things to entertain the kids in the evenings for bunk time, I was introduced to this book called Elijah's Violin and Other Jewish Fairy Tales. The book is by Howard Schwartz. It was published probably 1,000 years ago. And they refer to them as fairy
Because
tales.
it's Jewish, I have to ask. Literally
So-
1,000 years ago?
I mean, some of them probably were because it could, I'll explain.
Okay.
Them. The book itself probably came out actually in the 80s. What I would call them, though, is not fairy tales. I would call them folk tales.
Mhm.
And very often we hear, Jewish folk tales, and some of them are midrashic in nature. A midrash is a story that its purpose is to answer a question. So we've talked about midrashim before, and it comes, the root of the word midrash is lidrosh, which means to explain. What distinguishes for me a folk tale from a midrash is that a folk tale is just fun. It's a story to tell. A lot of them involve, I'm going to say, famous Jewish characters. We may or may not be familiar with them. King Solomon is the subject of a lot of fairy tales, folk tales, because he has in Midrashim, he has a bunch of these things that we would today call superpowers, like being able to know the language of the birds, for example. And so using that ability of King Solomon knows the language of the birds, it makes him a wonderful character for a Jewish folk tale. Wonderful things happen in folk tales. One of my favorites involves a princess being put up in a tower so that she can never meet this man who she's going to marry, who's a pauper, and it'll ruin her life because she's a princess. So, the classic narrative of a father trying to prevent a prophecy from coming true, which just makes it come true.
I
And
love those. Those are always fun for me.
classic trope.
Yeah.
And what happens in this particular story is, like, this pauper falls asleep on the side of the road and like puts himself inside an ox for warmth, like the Tauntaun in Empire Strikes Back. And this ox gets picked up by a giant eagle because it realizes it's going to have a really good meal, and it sees this dead ox, and it picks up the ox and starts flying away. But it starts to get tired and drops the ox over this island, and the ox lands on the princess's tower, and she meets this poor boy. So classic trope, wonderful story. And
Yes, the old hide inside a dead animal and get carried away by another animal till you fall in front of your love story. Classic.
I was going to say, Barack, that's how you met Michelle, right?
Yeah, it's pretty close.
the part of it that's a classic trope is you cannot prevent prophecy from happening.
Sure.
You can only help it be fulfilled.
Yeah.
So folk tales, weird things that happen in folk tales. What is the nerd culture thing that I'm connecting with this particular love of mine?
Can you give us some? Is this TV, movie, comic? Uh,
It is a category.
oh man,
Now I'm a little less sure, and I thought I was cheating.
I I want
What
to.
were you going to say?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, you made a big deal making sure we watched Project Hail Mary.
Oh yeah, right? Yeah. It's not Project Hail Mary, but man, what a great story. I'm just not ready. I'm just not ready for it yet.
Okay,
But
because
maybe
like
next.
there's a good like not necessarily enemies, but like bridging culture and working together like
Oh, yeah.
trope in Project Hail Mary that I think is one of those like folk tale sort of things. So like I could see the connection, but I'm now super curious that that's not what this is.
Yeah.
Is if it's a category, it feels like we're bridging into Ethan territory. And so I want to get ask, are we talking just
Said encouragingly, right?
yes, oh of course, absolutely very positive. Are we talking just comic books?
No,
Okay.
but
That's another good one,
it
Barack.
could be. See, here's the thing. I wanted to relate it to a very specific form of entertainment, I'll say. And you could take any aspect of nerd culture
Yeah.
and meta categorize it and make it fit Jewish folktales. So like because all of the stuff that we like to talk about has to do with storytelling. But this is the mode of storytelling, and where I would want you to hook your claws into is where it distinguishes itself from midrash, and that it is purely entertainment. I'm looking at your faces, and I'm gonna give a hint.
Yeah, one more hint.
Okay, what is the nerdiest thing you could go to at a theater?
A live show.
A Weird Al's concert.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm thinking.
A comedy show?
Oh, you're right on the
An
cusp.
improv show.
It's improv. Today we're going to talk about improv,
Oh,
which is,
yes, and I'm so ready for this.
I believe this is the nerdiest form of entertainment besides watching other people play Dungeons and Dragons. Um,
Very
and
funny.
and I will be and I will say I wanted to talk about Dungeons and Dragons today, but I realized everything that I was relating to Jewish folk tales was actually about the improv element of good role play.
I was just literally about to say, like, I think the best Dungeons and Dragons, you're using those improv skills.
Oh, absolutely.
Precisely, which is why I wanted to and why I wanted to step back and talk about improv.
I love
I'm
this.
curious about the connection to folk tales.
Because folk tales tell stories,
Yeah.
and a good folk tale tells a story that has no purpose except to tell a story. We want
Folk
to
tales?
entertain. Yeah.
They usually have some sort of moral or
I wouldn't say usually. I wouldn't say usually. I
huh.
would I would say I mean, there's a huge corpus of folk tales.
Yeah.
And many of them have morals. And the ones that you've heard from your rabbis probably have morals because that's the purpose of a rabbi telling a story
Yeah.
often.
Now
Um,
that's
or
interesting. Like, I actually had a different connection, RDY, if you'll entertain me for a second.
yeah.
Um, I was thinking that like part of what makes improv work is like when you're making cultural references that are doing some of the work for you, and that's part of the connection with folk tales. That there are archetypes that people naturally understand in culture that you're able to pull from that help tell your story without you having to like sit there and be like, okay, well now I'm going to be this guy, and this guy is doing X, Y, and Z.
Right. Commedia dell'arte was the same way, which is a less funny form of entertainment, but even though it's called commedia, Commedia dell'arte basically is the theater kid 101 style of theater that had, five or six character archetypes that made the play move forward. And it didn't matter what the plot was, but you always had these archetypes. In fact, the Purim story is arguably a commedia dell'arte art form, or at least it's very easily made into one.
Mhm.
With the folk tales that we tell our students, that we tell people we're training, or that we tell from the pulpit, yes, we put a lesson onto those, but they may or may not be naturally in the story. They might be,
You know,
but we
I'll
might. but we might be smashing it.
I'm thinking about the folk tales of Herschel of Ostropol,
Okay.
and those are mostly a reminder of just he's a terrible, selfish person, and not a lot of moral teachings in those. So I guess yeah, it probably depends on the folk tale. So I will secede.
And Helm too.
No, Helm. Well, yeah, I guess right. Helm is just weird people sometimes just not listening to others, and then yeah,
Yeah.
right. There's no real moral of the guy who leaves town and comes back, and then leaves town again and comes back, and he's like, "Oh, you can't believe where I just was."
Oh, right. And he was there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or like not wanting to step on the snow because they thought it was diamonds.
yeah,
Like the it's the stories of Helm have always read to me as long form jokes.
yeah. I view them as Jewish Amelia Bedelia stories.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a great parallel,
yeah,
but also kind of a long form joke.
yeah.
So, one of the things that I love about improv is that as much as you don't have to get to a moral, you don't have to get to a certain point. You just kind of feel it's over, and you have a really skilled person who turns off the lights and lets you know the scene is over. Um,
Eh.
but there are rules. And if the rules are not followed, the scene can fall apart. At its most basic level, there are three rules that are more important than most others. Ethan, you already alluded to yes and.
If this is Torah Smash, I think we should call it Yesh and. I
Ugh.
think it
Or
works.
Canva.
That's not as funny.
Hey,
Um,
something we're going to try and do at camp this summer. The kids can't do 6-7. They have to do Shea Sheva.
are kids still doing 6-7?
If they are, I am going to kill that meme this summer.
I
Don't you
fig-
worry.
I figured once it hit NBC, the kids would get rid of it pretty quickly. Like
If
once
it's
grandma is saying 6-7,
if it's not dead by the start of the summer, it will be by the end. I promise you.
good luck. So the the idea of yes and this is one that most people seem to know about, and probably 75% of people who know about it get it absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
I hear it all the time. Actually, I heard it just this week in a Zoom meeting. Someone said, "Let me yes and you," and then totally disagreed with the person. It's May. I'm an interim rabbi. My job is over June 30th, so I'm definitely not making any waves by correcting someone's grammar, but I definitely thought about
you
that was
you
not.
right. You mean to say yes, but right.
No, you just mean to say no, but.
Oh, there's a lot. Well, I think what yes and has come to mean in the professional sense is be respectful with your disagreements instead of let's build on each other's ideas. So when somebody
Yeah,
says something, you say, oh, essentially what it's breaking down to is like, yes, I understand what you're saying, and here's another idea.
yeah.
And
Or,
that's
yes, I understand what you're saying, and you're totally wrong.
right. But they're saying yes and is a polite way of continuing the
Yeah.
conversation instead of saying no because this thing. Yeah.
I will give them that. I will give them that. It doesn't raise them in my opinion,
Yeah,
but
again.
but I definitely agree with you that that giving them the benefit of the doubt that they're trying to be nice.
Yeah. Let's
I
make sure we
think,
don't say the word but anymore in this episode. We're just going to yes and each other.
That's a
but I think
great
that the
idea.
big thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ethan.
Sorry.
Negative one
I'm
point
not
for
sorry.
you.
We'll
Are
just
we
say
who's
tush.
lining this?
Yeah,
Are
these
we
are
what?
yeah, the
Does
points
this make some noise? Are we?
yeah, this is the episode where the points matter.
Oh yes. Okay. So I think, and I'm not kidding, Artie, I think it was Vic Michaelis. I watched a clip of them this week talking about improv, and Vic was talking that the message I took from it was that people take yes and literally when it shouldn't be literal. And I think Vic's example was, if I'm a robber, it is okay for you to say, stop, I'm a cop. You're saying yes and to the premise, not necessarily to what you're literally seeing in front of you on the stage. And that I think some people aren't fully, like when they're doing improv, don't always grasp that.
I don't understand why people wouldn't understand that that's yes anding.
I think that, like, when we were just talking about people misunderstanding yes and in the purpose in a corporate sense, I think it's true for, for improv. Yes and is about the premise, and that, there are times in improv it is funnier and best to say no.
Right. And I mean, the perfect example of this is Monty Python's argument sketch.
Hmm.
He tells, I forget the two actors who are in it. I think one of them's Michael Palin. But he goes in and says, I like an argument. And, and he says, I've told you once. He's saying he's already in the argument. And he's so far yes-anding that like you've come here for an argument, the argument has already started, so let's go. And how do we turn something that is usually no, 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 no into yes anding? It's the argument sketch. So
Yeah.
listeners, when you're finished listening to this episode, check out a YouTube of Monty Python's argument sketch and send us an email telling me who the other actor besides Michael Palin.
It's House,
Is it
isn't
John
it?
Cleese?
I think it's House. Oh no, it's John Cleese. Yep.
So is it
Also, go
Michael
watch
Palin and John
anything with
Cleese?
Vic
Graham
Michaelis.
Chapman.
Graham Chapman and Matt John Cleese. Okay.
Yeah.
House was he a Monty Python player?
No, he was in the other British improv show.
Okay. I don't.
There's only two, so
Have you seen Taskmasters?
I could spend an entire episode talking about Taskmaster. There's not enough time. You don't want me to talk about Taskmaster.
Okay, great. If you've ever done improv, Ethan, I know you have. Brock, have you?
Casually.
Okay. Um, very
Sorry,
often,
I thought of this as a drug. Yeah, recreationally.
Yeah.
I take recreational improv.
Oh God.
I was prescribed improv. It started out with 5 minutes a day, and now I'm up to 60
Oh my
minutes a
God.
day.
My therapist kind of did.
It's funny that you like started your improv with like a tight 5 and now you're on like to an hour set.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
Oh
it
my
just
God.
I need it to keep going.
Yeah.
I started just doing one sketch. Now I'm doing Harold's.
Yeah.
I don't think we've defined yes and. I think we've only given examples at this point. You agree and build on what before you has just said. In the business world, yes, this is definitely misinterpreted as disagreeing in a nice way, but the idea is to take someone else's thought and say this is the gold that we are going to work with. It doesn't matter what ideas you already had. If those ideas that were if someone says I want to see two rival magicians accidentally helping each other and you start to act like they're best friends, that's not yes anding. But if you both get these ideas, okay, I'm going to do sawing in half, and then the other person starts to talk about making the audience disappear, you go, yes, like you're sawing someone in half is gone because what happened out loud is gold, and then you build on it however you want. The second rule of improv, and this is the one that people really miss. Listen.
Mm-hmm.
There is more listening than performing in improv. It's just that the performing is what's in front, but the listening is where the magic happens.
I know me nodding isn't helping this podcast, but I am nodding in agreement.
Yes, Ethan has been vigorously nodding, and Sylvie has too, which is weird.
She's a good cat.
She
She understands improv.
absolutely. The listening part is critical for yes and because if you are not listening, then what are you going to build on?
You end up building on whatever's in your head already, and you're like, oh, I'll
Exactly.
do this thing, and regardless of what they'll do, I make this other thing happen. The whole sketch falls apart.
It dies.
Yeah.
It dies. It's never funny.
Yeah.
And I mean, a side rule that's not one of these primary rules is the humor happens in the character, not in trying to make a joke.
Right.
That's where like your best comedians, they very often don't tell jokes. They'll call it a joke, and at the end will probably be some sort of a punchline because they don't have someone turning the lights off to let the audience know that the scene's over. So they'll end on a punchline because punchlines end the entire situation, which is why you don't tell jokes. But a really good comic is just telling a story. And you'll see that this is a story that's been developed and it's the situation that's funny, not the zingers.
Right.
The third rule of improv.
I'm sorry. What was the second one?
Ah, that's funny. See, that's good. That was yes anding my, but it was also a joke.
Yeah, that was a joke.
Um,
Ha
the
ha ha
third
ha ha.
we'll insert a laugh track.
Yeah.
The third rule of improv is your scene partner is the star. If you can make the other people look great, that's how the story flows.
How does that one connect to Jewish folktales?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was thinking that as I was saying it. I don't know that the rules specifically parallel something in Jewish folktales because the way Jewish folktales were developed were probably just entertaining children
Sure.
and saying, oh, tell the one about Elijah's violin again. And if you remember, I actually used Elijah's violin as an object in one of our D&D games
Well, we
because
we don't fully remember because you ended up letting it, like, I think it got destroyed when I smashed the treasure chest.
yes,
Yeah. So I don't
yes,
think you
yeah.
actually told us what it was because we didn't get to use it. I don't think we got to use it.
Did I never say the words Elijah's violin in that particular?
Did we? I don't think we
Don't
got to.
remember.
Oh, none of us. Sorry, listeners. Go back to the first anniversary D&D session. We found it on on Noah's Ark,
Yeah.
and we all tried to attune to it, and none of us did.
Ah, right. Did I call it Elijah's violin?
That I don't know.
Because that's what it was in my head, and it was named in honor of these folk tales.
Oh, very fun. Wow, what a long payoff for that for that item, that magical item.
We name things when we're
Yeah.
creating stories, we name them
Oh
either
yeah,
off
yeah.
of something we've recently heard or something we're passionate
Mhm.
about.
I wonder if with the folk tales or fairy tales or whatever, like the idea that the other person is the star, I would venture that most folktale characters don't view themselves as the hero, as most heroes do. I don't think many of them view themselves as the main character of that story. And so they are often interacting with other people looking for advice or answers for their thing. So, right, they're not the person who knows it all. They're not the person who's going to save the day. They're thrust into a situation or carried into a situation, and most of the folk tale happens when it's occurring with somebody else. Right?
Very
That's
true.
yeah.
And folktales are created typically by one person or by one person at a time, whereas improv is a team sport.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Building off of other people's stories is just kind of what we do. I had a brilliant camp director who was such a good storyteller when I was a kid. I went to Camp Livingston in Indiana from 84 to 94, and my first camp director was only the camp director for my first year, Joel Stafsky. And Joel was such a great storyteller that he really inspired me, and I still use some of his stories today. And I've taken on one of his characters as one of my own characters and developed this whole lore
Mm.
over this character that I developed from his character of the same name and it's not the same because it's been years and maybe even what I remember of his telling these folk tales is a little different from what he actually told,
Mm.
but certainly inspired by him and hopefully bringing as much joy to at least one person in the room where I tell it that it brought me when I was listening to him telling the stories. Um, so do you have, so I know that Herschel of Osterpol is one of your favorites, Barack.
It's not
Um,
a favorite. It just I was blown away when I discovered he had more stories than
ah,
the Hanukkah goblins.
so then do you have favorite Jewish folktales?
I don't think so. I
Huh.
don't know if there's enough that I would be like I do enjoy the Land of Helm. I enjoy those. They're short. They're mostly unknown. I would say like there's a few popular ones that I think are amusing of like capturing the moon in a barrel. And I do enjoy the one of the guy who leaves town and returns not knowing it's his town. Um,
Mhm.
but otherwise, like the Jewish folktale that comes to mind for me that I enjoy is the story of the golem, but I don't know if that's a folktale. It feels like a folktale in a sense, but there's often yeah, I don't know. Otherwise, I don't think I know many Jewish folk tales that aren't what I would consider just like a children's book. Yeah,
Some of them have come to be children's books.
right. Like the lady, oh, what's it? There's a woman who kvetches and like grows like if my sister's listening, she's shouting at the phone.
Ugh.
Um,
If
yeah, I don't know if
What, how about you, Ethan? Are there Jewish folk tales that you're familiar with?
um, I don't know if this qualifies. I'd love to hear your thoughts, but I like the story of the rabbi in the town explaining Lashon Hara, using the example of like the pillowcase and spreading the feathers and having to collect them.
Yeah.
Um, it's one I heard my camp director tell back when I was younger, and now as a camp director, I seem to use it maybe once a summer when the staff gossip mill starts to roll.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, I think we could categorize it as a folk tale, and I would say like maybe even fable because
Mm,
there's definitely a moral at the end that's
yeah.
intentional. But I think that could also be splitting hairs. Like our folk tales are that could be splitting hairs. Are fables folk tales or not? If it's because if we're gonna go with my definition at the beginning that it's purely entertainment, then probably not. But if we're going to say, can it be a tale that we can glean a lesson from, then sure.
Right.
Um, I love collections of folk tales. There's a great one called Three Times High, which is 54, if you haven't already done the math. Li Relatively short folk tales that rabbis submitted as their favorites. I mentioned Elijah's violin already. There's a book called The Hungry Clothes, and probably something like And Other Jewish Folk Tales. Um, My Grandmother's Stories, and there's even like there are even plenty of books that are like Folk Tales of the Jews, Jewish stories, Jewish tales. Like you can find these collections. Another one of my favorites is called Jacob the Baker, which
Oh, you
was
mentioned this on the anniversary episode.
Jacob the Baker is a great collection of stories. It was introduced to me by a friend and colleague who reads it before the High Holy Days every year, he says. It is a wonderful, quick read. Like it's a one sitting read,
The whole book?
the whole book.
Great.
And
Hmm.
partly because it's really hard to put down. But
Are they long stories or just all a
no,
bunch of short
not at all.
stories?
Not at all. And these are and the premise of this one is like, little strips of paper that each tell a little mini story.
Hmm.
So Jacob the Baker is one long folk tale with lots of little tales in it,
Nice.
or basically wisdom text in it.
Very fun.
It's terrific. And again, when I started telling these stories, when I started falling in love with these stories, I was just reading them from a book to a group of 12-year-old boys during bunk time. When as a counselor, I needed to have an activity. I would say probably half of my bunk time activities were reading from this book. And because I loved it, and because no matter how nerdy you are, once you're a counselor, you are cool.
Mm.
The because I loved it, the kids loved it, and they were willing to sit and listen to it because it's their counselor.
Yeah, that's
Um,
very fun.
so definitely go and get one of those books and go watch all the improv you can, because
Yes.
I mean, we went to my next question for the two of you is favorite moment at an improv show.
I have one for you.
Yay.
A couple months ago, Dropout came to Austin and did a live show.
Oh my God.
It I don't want to brag. It was one of the greatest live events I've ever been to in my life.
Wow.
Wow.
Um,
Who was in it?
and it was, you're not going to like it. It was Jacob Wysocki,
Oh my God.
Vic Michaelis,
Oh,
Oscar Montoya, and Jeremy
oh,
Colhane.
wow.
So,
Um, it was about just about a week ago that I learned that Jacob Wysocki was in Pitch Perfect.
yes. Yeah. Um, so it was some like rapid fire game, and the prompt was, you know, give us a fake job, like an absolutely like fake job, like this couldn't possibly be real. And someone in the audience yells out SNL cast member, and Jeremy just like he sinks, like it was so funny. And then Vic grabs him, takes him in the middle of the stage, and just goes, "Hey man, I'm super excited to support you and your show. And I've been watching it the last few weeks. I'm just curious, like why? How come I never see you in any sketches?" And it just brought down the house. It was just chef's kiss, perfect.
Vic,
That's very
Vic
funny.
is the best.
And Jeremy was a great sport.
Of
Just to shout him
course.
out, he was
Nice.
wonderful.
I think the favorite parts for me are when the audience gets involved. Because and an audience person that's like not looking for the attention, but that is either um either going along with it in a really nice way or is so drastically out of their element that it just really adds to the fun of the improv. Um, and I went with Michelle, my wife, and some friends and their wives last year. I think it was last year. We went to the 20-Sided Tavern, which is a improv D&D show, and
Fun.
Michelle got pulled up on stage. And so she had to act out this scenario and as like the wizard, I think she was for them, who was helping them like it, and she just it was wonderful. It was I really enjoy when people are brought up on stage and like are added in because it's just so obvious how much the actors just aren't prepared for what's going to come out of an audience person's mouth. Yeah. I enjoy that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
For I think my favorite improv moment. So having my home base be Chicago means I have
Yeah.
pretty regular access to the Second City, which is top notch. It's one of the best improv places in the country. That and Upright Citizens Brigade are probably the two best, in my humble. Um, the the show that Natalie and I went to with a big group of friends. We who when we have friends come to Chicago, that's one of the things that we will often do with them is take them to see Second City. So we're sitting there, we're all laughing, and our seats were front row, like resting our feet on the stage kind of thing until we got yelled at front row. And so it's coming to like I need someone in the audience, and they pick on Natalie,
Hmm.
which is in for me better than being picked because it's all the fun of seeing someone you absolutely love and know inside and out being picked on, but it's not you.
Yeah.
So you have all the inside information, but none of the embarrassment.
Yeah, that's so funny.
And so they were like, what do you do? Oh, and she's like, I'm a cantor, and they're like, oh, what? And so they had fun with that when she explained that. And then they said, like, do you play an instrument? She says, yeah, guitar. And they are doing this political debate about the pros and cons of guitar.
Hmm.
And it's clearly a pattern. And when it comes to the anti side, whatever the issue is, there's an anti side and a pro side. And the anti side has a folk song about how bad the thing is. And here he is playing guitar, singing about how bad guitars were,
It's
which
very
to me
funny.
was so fantastic.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I loved it. I would also say to anyone who, just as much as I recommend all the books I mentioned, highly recommend grabbing an improv show. D20 Tavern,
20 sided
20
tavern.
20 sided tavern comes to a lot of regular sized cities. Like it tours a lot. I recommend that. If you're lucky enough to see a dropout show like Ethan, holy wow, that's really
And
cool.
most colleges have an improv group that'll do performances as well. Check your area, like just catch a fun comedy show.
Yeah, or see a good one. Either way.
Yeah.
My kid is in like two or three improv teams a year typically, but and they're in college, so like I would imagine that they would either be really, really, really good at it or not listening to people enough, one or the other.
Right.
My kid is super creative and comes up with amazing things, and that's fun. When you want to pass on something that is strictly fun from person to person, tell a story, go see a show, and allow the storytelling to just kind of take over the evening. Because when you craft something with a group of people who are like-minded, who trust each other, and who know how to craft something with a good beginning, middle, and end, you are going to have a great time, whether you are listening to a Jewish folktale or going to an improv show. I would say do it as soon as you can.
Yeah. You know what? In terms of telling a story just for entertainment, sometimes me and my wife, like the boys will ask us to tell them a story and we'll make something up.
Yeah.
My wife did one over a series of evenings. They like continued it. I think she did like 4 sessions of improv storytelling for the boys. And so like that's also very fun, and to like flex your improv muscles a little bit by just telling a story that your kids add elements to while you're telling it is a really fun challenge if you're up for that.
My father-in-law used to do that with my children. He would tell what he called thumb stony stories.
Mhm.
And thumb stony was a little boy who was only the size of your thumb.
Yeah.
And he would entertain my children with these stories that he would, according to Natalie, just kind of make up on the spot the way he did when she was a kid.
Oh, very fun.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So I hope that you and your children and my children continue to tell stories to their loved ones as time goes on. And all of
Yes,
you as well,
and
listeners.
yes, and
And you too, Ethan.
Thank you.
Well, that'll do it for this episode of Torah Smash. Our fiscal sponsor is Jewish Creativity International. Our theme music was created by Sean Fogel. You can check out Sean's bands and studio work at www.thesleepywest.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to rate and review us wherever you listen. It helps others find us and is an excellent way to support the podcast. We want to hear from you and continue today's nerdy discussion. Go to torahsmash.com to find where to connect with us online, purchase swag from our store, support us with a donation, find previous episodes, and more. And Barack and Ethan, give an Oscar acceptance speech for a best end of episode pun.
I stand here today so grateful to all of you who helped make this possible. Truly.
Dun,
That's my time.
dun,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Ba, ba.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Loved it.
That's funny.
That killed with 3 people.
And I'm one of them.
Yes.
I was in a house today that had a cat in it.
Oh, you're so lucky.
Ethan was in a
building.
building today with a bat in it.
Oh my God. Oh, yeah, it was an interesting day at work.
Yeah.
I should
Okay.
clarify. The bat was not supposed to be there.
Yeah. And it was the bat that was an animal that the Torah thinks is a bird. It's listed among birds we're not allowed to eat.